Hi everyone, Tom Vogel, Wrestling's finest PC Pro Wrestling game. This video is going to be the second part of the talking about the Wrestling's finest game engine. I'm trying to explain a few things here, how things work. This is more of a kind of a quick little summary. I want to show you here, if you go under Help and you go Computer Game Help, I'm not going to space this up correctly here. I just want to show you real quick. I believe if you go to, let me just look here, bear with me, I think it's around page 50. Here we go. If you go to page 53, here's the tabletop game rules if any of you might ever want to see that. It watches a lot of in fact, all the wrestler in the examples, I think it's Bigelow and Santana, they've probably been changed 20 times, but it gives you an idea if you ever want to take a look at this. But I'm giving you a brief summary of a lot of these instructions. So, back to the game, we have Hogan and Piper again, and yesterday I recorded it, but whenever you watched it, I talked about control, defense, pin ratings. I don't know the wisdom. First one, I'll just tell you that right now, is number of strategy or luck cards they get. And then the second number is if they should happen to pin or submit, you would turn 2 more cards. And if you turn, it's from 00 to 99. So if Roddy turned to 00 to 17, he would make the ropes and the match would continue. If his opponent has a minus rating for his second wisdom rating, then Piper would get to add that to it. So if his opponent was -4, it'd go to 21. So 00 to 21. Talked about once you determine control, who's in control, we do our action section, which is successful hold, auto control loss, and fan interaction. So today what I'm going to talk about right off the top is we are going to go into what happens specialty moves. So let's start here. Remember how Hogan's in control from 1 to 20, Piper's 21 to 40. So let's say the number turns to 25, so Piper's in control. So now we go to his action section. Say the next 2 cards turn to a 49, which fall under successful hold. And then let's say our next 2 cards that are turned is a 41, which falls in his hammer. And since the number is greater than 17, 0 to 17 would be legal hammering, and 18 to 48 would be illegal. And since we turned to 41, this would be illegal. So what we do then is on the cards we turned, we are going to check the second number, which would be the 41, would be the 1. And let's say that number was 38. Okay? That means 36 to 40 came up. That means we have a specialty move. So what we do here is we go to the specialty hold section for Piper, and you'll see everything's from 0 to 99. So we turn 2 cards, and let's say we turn a 55. That would be a neck breaker Roddy's going to attempt. Now, give you a quick summary of everything here. The 37 is the control rating should a pin attempt not occur, or should a pin attempt occur and his opponent kicks out. So if Roddy was to land it, we had a pin but Hogan kicked out, Roddy would be in control from 1 to 37. If for some reason Roddy didn't get a pin attempt, then he'd be in control from 1 to 37. Here's his pin attempt. That number 5, that means if the number on the second card turns, so I said we turned to 55, if on that second 5, this counter pin attempt number is from 5 to 40, Roddy Piper would get to attempt a pin on Hulk Hogan. Now, if that CPA number was 1, 2, 3, or 4, then there would be no pin attempt, and Roddy would be in control from 1 to last number of those three minus 12, that's what we take off Hogan's stamina. I want to go back to that pin attempt number 5. Some people say, how, here the guy finally lands a specialty move, but he didn't even get to attempt a pin. Well, think some of the matches you've watched. Guys a little bit in trouble, and all of a sudden out of nowhere he hits a specialty move. Sometimes the guy is so weak, is so tired, is so beat up that it took everything he had to go for the pin, and he just can't. So he's laying there too. That would be an example of why you don't always see pin attempts off the mate specialty moves. Now, I will say this. Roddy's 5 is a little high. Usually you're going to see 3s and 4s. And the reason Roddy's a 5, because on a couple matches I saw when he applied it, the neck breaker, and it actually landed, they were too close to the rope, so Roddy could not attempt a pin. Now, if you go to the far right, you'll see HM and then AA. I'm going to come back to that. Underneath, we have 16, 14, 0. If Piper was to land this move, you would add 16 to Hogan's first pin rating and 14 to his second. So, if you say this is the first move of the match, Hogan's pin rating would be 37, 35, 2. Still a good pin rating, but every time Hogan gets tired or hits his stamina of 63, his first 2 pin ratings go up 6. So let's say his second pin rating is 27, 27, his third is 33, 33, 2. Now Piper lands the neck breaker, you'd have a pin rating of 49, 47, 2. But since those first 2 numbers are over 40, you would carry the 9 and the 7 to the third pin rating. So now Hogan's pin rating would be 40, 40, 18. And if my math's correct, that's a 45% chance he's going to get pinned. So now what I got to show you is counters. And this is one of the more complicated things with wrestling's finest. The first thing you look at here is you see Roddy has the HM means it's a hammering move. PD is a pile driver. SB is a submission. KK is kicks. BS is body slam. RP is rope. And PH is pinhole. You'll notice here Roddy has an AA. That's the best. You can either have an AA, A, B, or C. I don't think anybody has a D. Now, the higher that is, let me rephrase it. The AA means he applies the move very, very well. He applies it better than the knee lift, and he applies it better than the pile driver. So what we look at is we'll see we have the double A, and remember we turn to 55. Okay, so what we do here is got to look at Hogan. His hammer counter is 20 double A. Now, how this works is we cross-reference Roddy's ability to put the move on and Hogan's ability to counter it. Since they're both a double A, I want to say you add, I'd have to look this chart up, but I believe you add 10. So this means Hogan would go from 20 plus 10, he'd become a 30. So when you check, remember we turned to 55, you check the first first 5 of the 55, and you check the counter pin attempt number. If that number is 30 or below, it means Hogan countered the move. If it's 31 or higher, then Roddy was successfully able to apply the move. Now, I'm not sure if I touched on this yesterday, the first video of the game engine, but here's the key. Each time Hogan gets tired, I just mentioned a couple minutes ago how his pin rating and submission rating go up. The first 2 numbers go up by 6 each time he hits 63. Now, also what happens is every time his stamina hits 63, his specialty hold counter goes down by 6. So, if Hogan was in his first stamina, meaning he's yet to hit 63, his counter's 30. Once he hits 63 the first time, his counter would go down to 24. If he hit it again, it would go down to 18, 12, 6, and the lowest it can be is 1. So, what does that mean? It means the second stamina rating is very, very important, as is the first one. But in this example, you can just about see it there. You can see Roddy's stamina, 73.5. Roddy will take 10 more points to hit his stamina levels, but then when he does, he only has to add 5 to his pin and submission ratings, and his specialty counters come down 5, or reduce it by 5, where Hogan has to reduce it by 6. Now, Hogan's 20 AA, that is a phenomenal counter for hammering. It's one of the highest in the game. And I mean, it's right there. I think for Roddy, let's take a quick look at Hot Rod, what he is. Roddy is a 17 AA. A 17 AA is really good. I don't know what the average is, but it's probably 16A. And if a wrestler is applying a hold that's a AA and his opponent's counter is an A, then you only get to add 8 to the base number. So in other words, if Hulk Hogan was an A for his counter, he would add 8 to the 20, so it would become 28. So the double A's are very important. And remember, anytime you have a counter, you are automatically in control, and it's already determined that you have had a successful hold occur, potential, meaning you just turn 2 cards, like here, Roddy, say he countered Hogan. You would just basically turn 2 cards, 0 to 99, and you get the result right off here. So that's what I wanted to show you on the specialty moves. Everybody has between 3 and 5. We did a project where a lot of gamers helped me out, and a lot of wrestlers who had 3 specialties now have 4, and some actually went to 5. And I want to say, I might be off on a couple, but I think virtually every wrestler in the master file now has at least 4 specialty moves. And so the next project will be doing the other wrestler files. But so the point I want to get here is, if you use strategy cards, this is very important. In one of your strategy cards is, I want to play a specific specialty move where you get to pick the move, or you just go to the specialty hold section. The timing when you play that's very important, because if you try it too early in the match, not only is the opponent's pin rating, I mean, it'll go up, but it's still probably going to be pretty good. But the counter chance is going to be much, much higher. In other words, you might want to consider playing that strategy card until your opponent's at least in his second stamina level. If you look at Roddy here, the other thing I want to point out, take a look at, say, his suplex. It's 11 AA. That 11 only is used when his opponent does a regular suplex. What I guess I mean by that is the AA then would add to the 11 if it's a specialty move. So anytime Hulk Hogan tries a suplex, because I don't believe he has a specialty one, Piper's counter will always be 11. It doesn't matter what his stamina is. What I'm going to show you now here, that just made me think of it, and I'm going to move on to DQs outside ring. Take a look at Hogan here. See how he has a -4 here by body slam? That means there aren't a lot of guys, and this is probably one of the higher ratings, if not the highest. He gets to take 4 off Roddy Piper's body slam. Piper's body slam counter is only a 9. So for this match, whenever Hogan attempts a body slam, Piper's counter is only a 5. The reason some guys like Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, there's probably I know Ken Patera, if you're into new style, Mark Henry. There's quite a few guys that have at least a -1. Some may have a -2. Some may have a -3. I don't know if anybody has a -5. If anybody does, it might be Bruno, but I'd have to look. But that just automatically is taken off your body slam counter. This allows guys like Hogan to have a 10% better chance of slamming, say, King Kong Bundy. Because let's say Bundy's body slam counter is 34 out of 40. Against Hogan, it would drop to a 30. This is the only hold, by the way, that has that adjustment to it. All right, continuing on with another example. Let's say we're going back to original control, and we turn a 20, or let's say we turn a 30, which means Roddy's in control. We go to the action section, and let's say the number Roddy turns is 25. Again, successful hold, so we're going to go here. Now we're going to turn 2 cards, and let's say we turn a 90. You'll see that falls under disqualified. It's basically a 3-step process. The first one we just hit falls in 84 to 92. We turn to 90. On the 0 card, we are going to look at the DQ. I just got to check something here. Let me just pull something up here so you can actually see it. Sorry. We're going to look at the DQ number. I want you to keep the DQR in the back of your mind. But for now, DQ number. So, how we would handle this is Piper, we turn to 90. Now, the game's default setting is always the second number of all these. 21, 5, 4, 29, and 10. These two are always the same for each guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to check the DQ number. And the one I just showed you is actually a 24. If the number is greater than 21, it means no DQ is possible. So if that occurs, then Roddy would get to choose either an arm hold or a punch. There's no chance of a counter, and there's no chance of a pin attempt. If that DQ number we just looked at is 21 or below, we do have the possibility of a DQ. That gets us to our third check, and this is where the 5 would come into play. We go to the DQ chart, and we look under the 5 column. That's what Roddy's is. And we get a new outside ring number, and the number is then applied to the chart. Let me show you something here. So in that example I gave you, let's just say this occurred. We had a 7, which is equal to or less than 21. So now we have a potential of a DQ. Remember, Roddy's rating is a 5. We then turn another fast action card. You'll see the number's 14. That is then applied to the DQ chart under the 5 column. That will then determine if a DQ occurs. Sometimes it will say possible double DQ, and then you're going to look at Roddy's, let's go back to Roddy's card here. You're going to look at his double DQ rating of 4, and we're going to add that to Hogan's double DQ rating. So if Hogan's a 4, that'd be an 8. We then go to the double DQ chart, and we get the result. If at any point a DQ does not occur, or double DQ, we go back to Roddy chooses a punch or an arm hold. Very similar process if outside ring occurs. So let's say Roddy's in control, he turns a 50, which falls under successful hold. We then turn a 95, which falls under outside ring. On the 5 card, we're going to check the range. And if it's 29 or less, then out of 40, then Roddy's going to have outside ring occur. If he passes that, if he fails that test, say the number's 33, which is above 29, then Roddy once again would pick an arm hold or a punch. But let's say the number turned was 25. We now are going to have outside ring activity occur, and we would go to the 10 column for Roddy. And I'm going to get that set up here in just a second for you. So here's the game's outside ring chart. I rarely show these charts. only because people might say, well, why do you do that? And I can tell you right now, if you look under the old result, and there's a reason that's in that way, most of those have stood the test of time since 1982. There's very few changes made. But for our example, so Roddy is a 10. And let's just say we had, let's say we turned a 14. And if you look under the 10 column, 14 to 18, it's going to be, he hit Hogan with a chair. However, there's a little side note for you. These results here, all of these, one through every one of these, is not exactly correct anymore. I'll show you why. So we have hit by a chair. We now we go to outside ring, minus 15, stamina 2. There's a text file. Within that text file, I'm going to guess there's maybe 15 different results. And you'll see there's like 1, looks like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different same text files. When this result comes up, a result will be taken from that specific text file. It might be run into ring post, might be ran into the ring table, hit by chair, ran into ring barrier, dropped on ring barrier. Any one of these results you see here that are the stamina 2, those now all are combined in one huge text file. Now, the other thing you want to look at here is Hogan. I'm going to show you his card in a minute, but I want you to keep in mind a couple things. Counter is Hogan's outside ring counter. The stamina, if not countered, is minus 15. And then a cut occurs from 7 to 10 if Hogan's rating is 7 to 10. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is Hogan's outside ring counter is 6, and that's out of 40, and that's pretty high. Most guys are a 4, some 5s, a lot of 5s, but mainly you're 4 or 5. Also, and let's say when Roddy turned that outside ring number, on that same card, remember where I said we turned a 14? On that same card, we're going to look at the counter pin attempt number, and if it's 1 to 6, Hogan gets to counter. If Hogan counters the move, then he gets to try an outside ring move using his rating, which if you look here is a 7. It's under the last line under attempted pin. If Piper then counters Hogan, we're done. There only can be one counter outside the ring for each guy. If that occurs, we go back to original control. So let's say on that, when we turn to 14, the outside ring number is 14. If we look at the CPA number, let's say it was 20. So Hogan does not counter. So he gets hit by a chair. Let's just say that was the text file that came up. All right, I decided to show you the text file folder. So remember, it's outside ring, minus 15, stamina 2. So all these results here, the computer's randomly going to pick one. So let's just say let's do the last one. Winner tosses loser into ringside table. That's how we have to word it. Then the winner in this case is Piper because he started the action. So it would say Roddy Piper tosses Hulk Hogan into a ringside table. So these are the text files for that result. So now what we have to do, remember there could have been a cut. And you see Hulk Hogan's cut rating right here is a 7. So Hulk Hogan's cut from being whatever that last result was tossed into the ringside table. So now what happens is we go to the game's cut chart and a number is obtained that is applied to the cut chart that tells you not only what the stamina is, but it goes into detail what the cut is. And we have a lot of text files for cuts. The worse the cut is, say it's a 30-point cut, that would be considered a very bad cut. The more gory and graphic the text file will be. The text files, the other thing I wanted to say with that is, if you have a 30-point cut, what the game does is it turns a number then from 1 to 9, actually 0 to 9, I'm sorry. And whatever number is turned, that's the number that comes off the cut. So if, let's say, you turn a 7, that 30-point cut now becomes 23. If you turn a 0, it stays at 30. In our version 3 that we put out in August of 2020, the cool thing is the cut stoppage now, meaning when does a match get stopped. It used to be if one wrestler was minus 90, and if they were combined at 140, then the match would be stopped. Now there's a random number that is pulled before the match starts. I don't even know it, but it's based on a formula that Gary programmed in. So the chances, if it's a 25-point cut, if you get 25 off in cut, the chances a match gets stopped are very, very low. Now, as your stamina or your cuts off accumulates, the chances the match gets stopped are going to greatly increase. So let's say you have 27 off in cuts. The chances that match is stopped right then is very slim. Let's say your next time you get cut, you lose 21. Now you're at minus 48. Chances will go up. Now let's say next one's a 33-point cut. You're now at 81. Now your chances are greatly increasing the match will stop. But the beauty of it is we don't know, as a gamer playing the game, we don't know when that match is going to be stopped. We don't know what the magic number is. And I honestly do not either. I think Gary said, I don't want to know. I want to play it like everybody else. So the cut point could be 67, could be 51, could be 31, which is very unlikely, or it could be 97. And so let's say the cut stoppage is 82. We get to 81. We do not know it, but the next cut will stop the match. Now we might say, we're getting close. I bet if I have another cut, the match is going to get stopped. It'd be a pretty good guess, but it's not necessarily true. So I really like that feature we put in. So that's how the cut ratings come into play. On that outside ring chart, it will say if wrestler has a cut rating 8 to 10. In that case, Hogan would not have been cut. Could be 9 to 10, or the only time the cut occurs is if you're at 10. So it'd be like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Abdullah the Butcher. There's a lot of guys that have 10s. I mean, not a tremendous, but there are quite a few. That's how we determine if a cut occurs. And then the cut itself is taken from the text file. Okay, I'm going to try to end this here within the next 4 or 5 minutes, but that's pretty much everything I wanted to share, but I do want to just highlight a couple things. Remember, counters, the letters only apply to specialty moves, and then when you cross-reference it with the wrestler who's applying the hold, the game will add to the first one. So like Hogan's a double A. If somebody's doing a body slam that's only an A, then Hogan gets to add 12 to the 14, making it 26. Also remember, every time Hogan hits 63 in his stamina, not only does his first 2 pin and submission ratings go up by 6, the specialty counters get reduced by 6. But for the entire match, Hogan, since Piper doesn't even have a rope specialty move, anytime Roddy tries a ropes move, Hogan's counter is 19. Remember, this is all out of 40. The INT, I didn't really talk about that. That's just how often they call for outside interference. Hogan's might even be a tad high, probably should be a 2 maybe. Piper, I believe, is a 9 or a 10. The higher it is, the more often you'll call for it, and the more often you get disqualified. The stamina, or the control, remember our auto control, Hogan's a 19, Piper's a -1. So when we're determining control, if Hogan, say, does a headlock and there's no pin or anything, he's in control from 1 to 37. If the number turned to determine that is 1 to 18, he gets to just determine what hold he's going to try again. If it's 19 to 37, then we go back through that action section. The attempted pin, it's everything plus. So 38 plus, 22 plus, 13 plus, and that's out of 40. So Hogan, if he does a suplex to Piper, then the chances he gets to do a pin is if he turns a 22 to 40. If It's 1 to 21, no pin attempt. Here's our stamina off. That would come off Roddy's 73. I want to show you Hogan's specialty move. He has the slam leg drop combo. That is the, I don't know, there's probably a couple other ones, but this is, I mean, look at this, 25-25-0. He gets a 2 for a pin attempt, so there's only one number out of 40 he can't. Control is 39. The stamina off is 24. Might be a little high, might have to look at that. Leg drop might be a little high too, but let's just say it's first move of the match. Piper's pin rating goes to 40. Wow, I'm sorry, goes to 50-49-3. So you got to carry the first two ones. So you'd have 10 plus 9, 19 plus 3. Roddy's pin, if this is the first move of the match, is 40-40-22. So that's a 55% chance. But then the first time he gets through his stamina, now it would go to 40-40-32. And then the next time, it'd be 40-40-40. So I just wanted to show you that real quick on Hogan. Let me show you Piper real quick, and then we'll end it. A couple things with Piper. Like I said, his interference rating is a 10. His illegal pin rating is a 9. And remember, that's the number in parentheses after a pin counter pin attempt number. If the number there is during a pin attempt, it's checked. If that number is less than or equal to Piper's 9, he then gets to attempt an illegal pin. Specialty moves only occur either through a legal hammering or illegal, and both of them are 36-40. So if Roddy has an illegal hammering come up like he did, let's just go back to legal. Say we turn a 12 under control, which falls in his hammering, and since it's 17 or below, it's a legal hammering. We check the second CPA number, and let's say it's a 23. It'd be a headbutt. And it's 5 off, but we check Hogan's counter. Let's say Hogan's counter is a 4 and we turn to 10. No counter. If there's no chance for a pin attempt, Roddy then would be in control from 1 to 36, but we'd also look at his auto control, which is a 1 to 15 after Hogan's adjustment. That's how we get specialty moves. It's from the legal and illegal. So you got to have a hammering occur, and then you have to turn for Piper, you turn to 36 to 40. I think we're going to wrap it up. Probably a few minor things I did not go over. I didn't go over like pre-match attacks or post-match, but pretty much covered most of the things I wanted to. I know there's a lot to take in. Hopefully I was able to simplify it some way, but if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to email me. My email address is tommyv33@att.net, and that's all lowercase TOMMY, initial V as in Victor, 33@att.net. If you don't have the game, don't ever plan on getting the game, please visit us at our Delphi forum. We've got great wrestling talks. I mean, you might watch these videos to maybe learn about the game a little bit and consider it, but if you think that's not for me, you're still a wrestling fan, or you wouldn't be watching these videos or listening to them, because I sure wouldn't listen to me ramble on. But just go to your favorite search engine and type in Delphi. That's D as in dog, ELPHI forum, Wrestling's Finest, and it will take you to our message board that's hosted by Delphi. Great people, great wrestling fans, great wrestling knowledge, and great wrestling worlds. It's not entirely about Wrestling's Finest. We get other discussions, but a lot of people post their Wrestling Finest wrestling worlds. I run a Georgia replay. We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, lots of awesome wrestling program ideas going on. Some very creative minds and some excellent writers. But please consider stopping in. If you stayed this long, you're a champion. So thank you. I'm going to say goodnight. This is Tommy Vogel, Wrestling's Finest PC Pro Wrestling game. So long, everyone.